Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Jim Carroll, editor of Converge Digest, and today I'm joined by my colleague Roy Chua, principal and founder of AvidThink. It's our pleasure today to bring you another interesting and timely conversation, this time about the intersection of AI and the radio access network, the AI native RAN. With us today are two distinguished guests who are deeply engaged in the shaping this next phase of the telco revolution. Azita Arvani, who is well known for her leadership roles in driving innovation across the telecom stack, and Dr. Minoru Mick Etoh, Vice President of NTT DoCoMo and a visiting professor at Osaka University, whose expertise in the standardization and future network architectures is well known. Today's discussion, we hope to explore how telcos are preparing for a future in which AI is dominant, in which AI is everywhere. So our two guests are working on a paper on exactly this topic. It should be available shortly, or maybe it already is. But with that, let's welcome our two guests.
My name is Mick Etoh, Micketoh. I'm currently a professor at the University of Osaka. I I was working for NTT DoCoMo for how many years? Maybe more than 15 years as an R&D planning. Then I was in charge of standardizations um, activities also. Then among them, 3GPP was my main working area.
Okay, fantastic. And Azita, you're well known in the telecom industry, but please introduce yourself and share a little of your background.
I'm Azita Arvani. I've been in the telecom industry for over 20 years. I've seen many different parts of the telecom stack. I've worked at Nokia as various parts in bringing innovation from outside in, running, partnering in alliances. And my most recent position in telecom was with Rakuten, where I was CEO of Rakuten Symphony Americas. And I've always been interested in bringing more AI and automation into telco, and also initially with digital transformation and now with AI transformation.
And Roy Chua, well known in the telecom industry. Tell us a little bit about your interests in AI and RAN.
Yeah, so I run a small research advisory firm, AvidThink here, and we've been covering the next generation of infrastructure, and especially in the telco market as well for the last 10 plus years now. And we got started obviously on the infrastructure changes with RAN, with Open RAN, and now we're also tracking some of the changes in AI RAN. And I ran to Azita, who indicated that she and Mick were in fact writing a paper that's going to be available shortly around AI and RAN. And I thought, well, I think it's time for a chat because we've been doing some work in that space as well recently.
Okay, so let's begin with maybe a consideration of what is the problem that is trying to be solved. Is it one of resource allocation in the RAN, and so AI is now a new tool for managing those resources, or is there a larger problem set that inspired your work with this paper?
So, Jim, if I may get started on this, I gave a talk at MIT AI Summit in April of 2024 titled AI's Third Pillar. And I argued that networking is the third pillar of AI that brings compute and data together in a very flexible and distributed way. And that's what we need moving forward. And telcos are in a very unmatched position to not only use AI for networking, just like in any other industry, to bring a lot of operational efficiencies in various areas like customer service, generating code, network operations, et cetera, et cetera. But there's also the reverse, that's the networking for AI. and that means taking advantage of this network infrastructure that's very distributed, trusted, sort of real estate rich that we have, and has many different edges, edge cloud, whether it's at the far edge, near edge, even private edge at the central hub, being able to use those as AI factories and create this AI fabric that's distributed. So that would be more like a revenue generating stream that would be available for telcos. So in its best case, it would be a flywheel and a virtuous cycle where the more you use AI for networking and networking becomes more self-optimized, then the more that network can help with AI for every industry. And I don't think any other industry can say it the way that telcos can have that position in the ecosystem and can take advantage of it. So with that in mind, there's obviously a lot of work that needs to be done. You can't just go from being a telco and running a network to being a telco and a core weave at every base station that you have. I wanted to investigate that more, and I couldn't find any better collaborator than my longtime friend and colleague, Mick Etoh, which we have worked with in a long time, to see, well, let's dig into this further to see what is going on today in terms of developments, and is that enough to get us to where we all think we should be going.
Mm-hmm.
And Mick, how about for you? What is the beginning of this paper or the research interest that you have?
Yeah, recent 3 years, I had the opportunities to visit China. Then I saw many huge progress regarding 3GPP activities. China Mobile or other telecommunication operators in China standardized 3GPP 5G advanced. Then they are trying to utilize the new specifications based on 5G advanced. Then I realized, wow, 5G advanced is now defining AI optimizations. That was my finding 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Then I started to watch the progress, AI-driven, in other words, so far a data-driven mobile network. Then now going to AI-driven. So I think two aspects we have. One is optimizations based on AI technologies, optimize mobile networks to several base stations or different radio frequencies. On the other hand, we are having singularity. Singularity means, in my definitions, that is AI driven AI development. In other words, AI itself reproduce super AI, and then that reincarnations of AI production by AI itself is we are going to have in maybe 2 years. Then I think forget about optimizations. We need how incorporate AI progress into a mobile network. So mobile network have to change together with singularities of AI. That means we have to convey intelligence of AI together over new networks. So we have to redefine mobile network in view of AI progress. That's my motivations to get into this article.
Excellent. And finally, Roy, we're obviously in a period of rapid change. There's a lot of initiatives underway, both standards-based and private company-driven ones. Give us some perspective. How do you see this AI and RAN space currently?
Yeah, I think, what echoing what Azita and Mick have talked about is certainly the mobile network industry continues to expand, and communications is increasingly more cellular as well. And so given the large number of mobile devices out there, I think the RAN is a critical resource and spectrums is always limited. And so what we've seen historically is that AI has been used, with machine learning to improve spectrum, improve energy efficiency already, in sort of the basic traditional predictive ML type approach. So we're seeing some of that in place, right, from some of the largest vendors, right? Whether it's Huawei or Nokia or Ericsson, along with the other vendors like Samsung, Fujitsu, certainly that there is some level of ML involved in that. But Mick's right in that AI is moving very quickly, very differently, and with generative AI and soon generative and reasoning and agentic, as those things come and evolve, there could be a much different and bigger change for mobile networks. I mean, for telcos in general, communication networks, and so to the extent that the AI is able to self-optimize, and to the extent that the networks can be autonomous, or the AIs can improve the algorithms themselves on their own, given certain targets, then I think, from a telco perspective, then the question becomes, how do you prepare for that? How do you approach that? And in the larger ecosystem, I think, as Azita and Mick probably will speak to this as well, which is, what does it mean for the larger ecosystem? What does it mean for the ITUT and the 3GPP and all the other, ecosystem players in that space, along with the vendors, right? What does that mean? And we've had the O-RAN Alliance, which helped certainly develop O-RAN or standardize it, after someone like Rakuten Mobile, for instance, actually, deployed it first, not standard because there was no standard at that point in time. But certainly, there are other alliances now at work, like the AI-RAN Alliance, for instance, to try to drive this through. But I think the more visibility we can bring to the table, the more conversations we can have, I think that's always a good thing.
Yeah. So, Azita, what can you tell us about the paper itself? How far along are you guys? Is it ready to be published soon? And are you ready to share any highlights?
Sure. It's the first draft is done, and so I think within the next couple of weeks we're ready to publish it to everyone, so we can then expand the conversation and have other people comment on it as well. But the main point here is that we noticed that, as we all mentioned here, there are a lot of great initiatives that are going on, like with 3GPP and 5G Advanced, whether it's release 18 that's already finalized or release 19 and 20. And then with O-RAN Alliance, with RAN Intelligent Controller, and with AI RAN Alliance and all of that. But we felt like there is this vision that we all kind of assume it's going to come of this AI, what we call AI native networks, which intelligence is embedded in the network itself, and you could easily move AI powered services around, and you could act like AI factories at various telco edges. You could share the infrastructure between telco workloads and AI workloads. All of that is great, and there are tons of benefits that we could talk about. But what is missing here is that there is a lot that needs to happen between now and then. And from what we could see from the developments that are happening now, that is laying the groundwork for what we call data-driven networks. So if you look at, for example, with 3GPP, with network data analysis function, or data collection and coordination function, those are all the functions that are like gathering data from various network functions and then providing insights to various consumers of those insights. And so that's vital, and that has to happen. But then there is this assumption that somehow magically at 6G, which is only release 21, we're going to get into AI native. And we believe that that a lot of work needs to be done between now and then, that we would like to make sure it is happening, that the groundwork for that is being placed, and that there is a lot of coordination between 3GPP and O-RAN Alliance and AI RAN Alliance, so that operators really know have a blueprint, a template that they could follow. Because, for example, cloudification of all network functions is absolutely fundamental for this AI native future. And if you think about it, we have done the core cloudification for a while now, but on the RAN side, we are still missing a whole bit, right? I mean, Open RAN still is in its early stages. A lot of people are doing single vendor virtualized RAN as opposed to multi-vendor cloudified RAN. And that matters when you're trying to act as an AI platform. You need to be a cloudified platform first before you can be an AI platform. And then also like having AI and that intelligence as its own layer, in addition to the user plane and control plane. We need an AI plane that can then manage the AI workflows with the models and the data flows and all of that that's related to AI itself. So just in summary, those are some of the things that we think are missing. I mean, there's a whole lot more, but I leave it up to my...
Yeah, just one quick follow-up, Azita. So do you think that it's this is continuing along the same patterns of collaboration that we've seen previously in wireless technologies, or just being pushed by AI people, AI companies, or, you know, how is that balance between AI and mobile network playing out?
I mean, that's a great question. You know, I mean, just think about where we are with RAN today, right? Majority of the RAN software is a software that runs on top of proprietary hardware right now, right? And then let's say the next move would be to run it on CPUs, right? Like what we did with Rakuten Mobile and Rakuten Symphony. And that would be sort of a logical step. But then if you leap beyond that and go to like CPUs and GPUs together, where CPUs will be used for telco networks, for telco workloads, and GPUs would be used for AI workloads, then there's maybe another jump after that it'll be GPUs only, where both workloads run on GPUs. But there has to be a lot of work between now and when GPUs become the single computing resource for all workloads.
Okay. And same question for Mick then. You know, what are the most interesting things you're working on this paper? And tell us about that balance between the AI companies and the mobile network operators, which of course in Japan, famous for being on the cutting edge.
Yeah, okay. Following Azita's comments, this decade, or 1 decade, we have been using this buzzword, software-defined network, software-defined. Everything is going to be software-defined. Now we are going to have AI-defined. So that in that context, telecommunication operators try to use generic hardware, let's say CPU, now GPU, then based on that generic hardware, software-defined stuffs being used over the top of generic hardware. That's the trend, and also our inevitable direction. Then sooner or later, we are going to have fully software-defined over GPUs, say maybe NVIDIA hardware or other generic hardwares. So now it's high time to redefine architecture of network. Okay, so in that sense, now telco is struggling, have been struggling for some open standard, say ORAN or other open standard activities. But now that direction dramatically changed by introducing AI-defined network. That will appear sooner or later around 6G. Then we have to prepare from now. That's one message from this article. Then I like this word invented by Azita. So Teleco's great opportunity is to intelligently connect intelligence. So um, Gen AI is now replacing all the architectures with that capabilities. So we need something new regarding generic AI. So now it's a good opportunities for telecommunication operators. Now telecommunication operator is becoming the foundation of a national AI economy rather than just a connectivity provider. So from the viewpoint of security and intelligence, we have to redesign AI-driven society together with uh, network, especially mobile network. So um, yeah, then so now it's high time to redesign or going to have a big picture, ground design of a new network. So we have to start right now. That's a message.
Ah, big message there.
Yeah,
Big
too.
message there. So, curious what questions Roy may have for Azita. And
I think, I'm sure we wanted people to read the paper and to go through the details in there. But in terms of like what would you say is sort of the key thing that telcos will need to start doing or should start doing, or maybe they should stop doing, whatever, start doing or
Mhm.
stop doing? Um,
Mm.
what would be some of the one of the key, just one of the key things that you would advocate? And I guess for the rest of it, they'll go read the paper. But I think maybe one from Azita, one from Mick, and maybe it's different or maybe it's the same. I don't know.
Okay.
Mhm.
If I may start, Mick. So just to me, we need to kind of complete the network function cloudification. It is super important that we actually are in the cloud, in a real cloud, before we can offer AI services from our cloud to third parties, right, to enterprises and so forth. So I think people have to kind of realize that our reality is not there today, and if we just go with the current trajectory, we're not going to get there magically. There has to be some big push, or if we get there, it will not be scaled. It will be like in private 5G networks type of environments, kind of niche applications, and be very domain specific and not be able to go across. Like if you want to really have hyper customized, hyper personalized network slices, right? So we need to be able to go across all of the domains of telco, not just the core. And so if you want to go beyond like incremental savings in energy and in like the way we deal with interference at the RAN, so that or improve the core at the local level. If you want to go beyond that to be this AI factories and take advantage of this revenue opportunities that's in front of us, we really need to finish our cloudification, and that should be a high priority for telcos. I know it takes a lot of investment, and 5G has not been great in terms of monetizing the 5G investment. So that investment either has to come in, getting the savings from the lower level type of AI improvements and then applying it to this, or maybe working with the AI companies to get the investment in, so that the telcos will have the justification to make the investment.
I think anyway we need a big picture. So Teleco has been always teleco specific APIs and those standards. So that as a result, AI implementations are very fragmented so far, and um, so we don't have any cross-domain integrations because of course, when considering economic realities, we have to maintain existing network, 5G, 4G, and 5Gs. But in the long run, we need cross-domain integrations. That's major challenge because cross-domain integrations requires LAN vendor, core network vendor, or other application integrators. We need to I can say integrate all these things into one architecture. That is the major challenge. Other challenge is, as I mentioned earlier, Teleco has been sticking to network or centric architectures that cause overlay architectures. So always we are putting some new intelligent on the top of existing network, but that will have to end in before 6Gs, speaking of my personal opinions. So fundamental challenge is redesigning networks with intelligence as a core architecture principle rather than as add-on. So on one hand, we have to maintain existing 4G and 5G networks, but upcoming 5G network, we need a big picture. Yeah,
Well, thank you. Yeah, well, thank you very much. It seems that this challenge of getting to that big picture, it's really urgent, of course, as well. Everybody has that feeling that AI is going to change everything, and the mobile network, of course, as well. So, just final question for Azita: when and where can we get your paper?
So the paper is available at the link below. We encourage you to download the paper and read it and tell us what you think. We're always interested in driving AI forward in the telecom industry, so we look forward to your comments.